Welcome to the 1 Year Book of Mormon. A non-Mormon reads through the Book of Mormon. Day 2. 1 Nephi, Chapter 2. This chapter starts with Lehi getting a dream from God, warning him to leave Jerusalem with his family. So he leaves, taking only necessary provisions and tents, and leaving behind, quote, his house and the land of his inheritance, and his gold, and his silver, and his precious things. And they go 3 days' journey into the wilderness. In verse 5, we are told who this family is. It's Lehi, his wife Sariah, and their 4 sons. In order of age, it's Laman, Lemuel, Sam, not Samuel, just Sam, and Nephi. Yeah, it's not completely unheard of, but a little unusual to leave behind your gold and silver, all your money. I know you can't eat gold, so it's better to have food than gold. But unless the family never meets any other humans at all, from whom they could buy any sort of food or other provisions, it would be better to have silver and gold. Or at least take it along, even if you just have it. In the Bible and the law of Moses, the people were required to set aside a portion of the food to take with them to the feast in Jerusalem or Shiloh once a year, and even in those cases it was permissible to sell the food to turn it into gold, so you can take the gold or silver or whatever money, because that's easier than taking the food. This also sounds a lot like American pioneering, which was in full swing at the time Joseph Smith wrote the Book of Mormon. You're going to go off into the wilderness. There's not going to be other people around. You have only whatever clothes and blankets and pots and pans and food that you take along with you, or such as you can hunt and gather in the wilderness. Eventually, of course, you would plant crops and get the food from that, but you just can't pop down to the country store and buy anything. So you have to have everything with you. Verse 6 depicts the family setting up camp in a valley by a river, quote, near the Red Sea, which emptied into the mouth of the Red Sea. They left Jerusalem, went 3 days' journey to close to the Red Sea anyway, 200 miles away at the closest point. They would have had to have walked over 50, even over 60 miles per day with all their provisions and tents. Yeah. Completely believable. The remainder of the chapter basically introduces the reader to the 4 sons of Lehi. Laman and Lemuel, the 2 oldest, are depicted as wicked. They're stubborn, rebellious, hard-hearted, and foolish, while Nephi is depicted as good, gentle, faithful, and obedient. And Sam basically just goes along with whatever Nephi does. We're given a little bit of a physical description of Nephi. He is said to be, quote, exceedingly young, nevertheless large in stature. That's as much information as we're given. I don't remember any other description of any of the other sons, pretty much anybody else in the Book of Mormon, up to at least the middle of 2nd Nephi, which is where I am right now. I asked in a Mormon group how old they thought Nephi likely was, did a poll, gave different possible ranges, and the majority pictured him as being a late teenager, some in his early 20s or older, and a few people answered that he would have been 30 or older, or possibly even in his early teens. This does have some bearing on some things that happen in the next few chapters and even into 2nd Nephi, so keep this in mind for later. There really isn't a whole lot more in this chapter, but there's a couple of other points. Verse 9 says, And when my father saw that the waters of the river emptied into the fountain of the Red Sea, he spake unto Laman, saying, Oh, that thou mightest be like unto this river, continually running into the fountain of all righteousness. It is an oddity that the river is depicted as running into the fountain, because usually it's the other way around. There's a fountain or a fountainhead at the start of the stream, and that turns into the river as more and more water comes from the streamlets coming down the mountain, or snow melting, or whatever. So that's kind of the opposite of real life. And then the chapter ends with Lehi predicting a time when Laman and Lemuel, maybe just their offspring, rebel against Nephi and his offspring, and that Laman and Lemuel, the Lamanites as they're later come to be called, will have no power over the Nephites, as they will later be called, unless the Nephites also become wicked and rebellious as well. And that's basically it for 1 Nephi chapter 2.